9 unread mails.
I'm nothing special. In fact, I'm a bit of a bore. If I tell a joke, you've probably heard it before. But I have a talent, a wonderful thing, 'cause everyone listens when I start to sing. I'm so grateful and proud. All I want is to sing it out loud. So I say thank you for the music, the songs I'm singing. Thanks for all the joy they're bringing. Who can live without it? I ask in all honesty. What would life be without a song or a dance? What are we? So I say thank you for the music, for giving it to me. Mother says I was a dancer before I could
10 unread mails.
walk. She says I began to sing long before I could talk. And I've often wondered, how did it all start? Who found that nothing can capture a heart like a melody can? Well, whoever it was, I'm a fan. So I say thank you for the music, the songs I'm singing. Thanks for all the joy they're bringing. Who can live without it? I ask in all honesty. What would life be without a song or a dance? What are we? So I say thank you for the music, for giving it to me. I've been so lucky. I am the girl with golden hair. I wanna sing it out to everybody. What a joy, what a life, what a chance. Thank you for the music, the songs I'm singing. Thanks for all the joy they're bringing. Who can live without it? I ask in all honesty. What would life be without a song or a dance? What are we? So I say thank you for the music, for giving it to me. So I say thank you for the music, for giving it to me.
Nine unread mails.
बुरा है लेकिन तुम कैसी हो लिखना, मेरा छोड़ो जान मेरी, अपना ख्याल तुम रखना। पहली बार शरारत की है, पहली बार शरारत की है, कुछ न समझ में आए मैं क्या करूं।
पहली बार मोहब्बत की है, कुछ न समझ में आए मैं क्या करूं। मेरा दिल भी कोई कागज का टुकड़ा होता, रात को तेरी बाहों में तकिए के नीचे सोता।
हो केरल में गर्मी है, नैनीताल से सर्दी भेजो, जो राहत पहुंचाए ऐसा कुछ बेदर्दी भेजो। तेरी यादों के एक पल जीना है मुश्किल,
कैसे लिख दूं तुझको कितना चाहे मेरा दिल।
अपनी एक तस्वीर लिफाफे में रख कर भिजवा दो।
मैं खुद मिलने आऊंगी, कुछ दिन दिल को
Hey, Becky, how are you?
से चुरा लो दिल में कहीं तुम छुपा लो
I'm good. How are you?
Wonderful, wonderful.
खो न जाए दूर तुमसे
So what are we going to talk about?
Pardon?
What are we going to talk about?
Oh, there's too much to talk about these days. There's always stuff. How's the week been for you?
I'm not too bad. How about you?
Oh, excellent. You know, just kind of. You know, I went to the with the Canadian Council of the Blind Club, Waterloo Region Club. I go to the. I also go. They do the outings to the plays, to the Drayton plays.
Oh, that's so cool.
As in the theater. So on Wednesday or yesterday, I went out to Mary and Bright, which was actually at the St. Jacob's Theater there at the Schoolhouse Theater.
Oh, how was it?
Oh, I loved it. It was a musical. It was a musical, and it had a mix of some Christmas music and non-Christmas music. Man, was it ever excellent. And then we go out for supper as well after that.
Oh, that's cool. It's nice to have like a day out. You know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely. I totally just, you know what, it's always a lot of, you know what, it's always a lot of fun. And, you know, the next one is actually on December the 4th, which is White Christmas.
Oh, okay.
And the one after that is on the 19th of December, which is the Christmas Carol, the Panto.
Oh, okay.
So
that'll be fun.
yeah, looking forward to that. And they also do, they also do their monthly dinners as well, which I'm planning to go back to. I'm going to be going to that as well, as well as some of the other stuff as well. Some other stuff as well that I want to that I'm going to be getting back into. Goalball. I'm not sure if you're familiar with, or if you've even heard of Goalball. Actually, it's made a lot of publicity recently. Goalball, what it is that it's actually a sport for the blind, where actually the balls have like the idea is that you're not supposed to see the ball, and the balls have bells in it. Like, so when the ball rolls around, it makes a sound.
Oh.
It has bells in it.
And is it like do you throw it to someone else and then try and get it into a net, or how does it?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah. And the CCB club also does the weekly. They do bowling every week as well. And
I would assume they just put the bumpers up then for bowling.
I think actually they do. That's right. Yeah.
That's probably a good. That's good for people that can see. Never mind people that can't. Like, you know, you're bouncing them all over the place.
Oh, I know. It's crazy, isn't it? Like,
yeah. I always love when I go bowling with friends of mine who have kids, because we have to put the bumpers up, and I'm like, I'm fine with that because that helps me, not just the kids.
Oh, I know. Isn't it just? It's interesting how that sort of goes, right?
Yeah.
It's crazy, isn't it? It's interesting where that it's kind of crazy too. That where, you know, like they put the bumpers up, and then, yeah, I think that's all they do, and then they have like, I don't know, I think they have some other things as well that the bowling alley does as well. Yeah, no, yeah, that's how they do it basically.
That's cool.
Yeah. Lots of, you know, yeah. And, like, I've been attending the play since 2019, actually. I just realized that.
And I guess not during COVID, though.
No, then 2020, I had bought I went to, there was a couple that I went to, and then, of course, everything shut down.
Yeah.
And it's funny, though, I don't remember what the name of the play was, is that the last production for that, the last production of one of the plays was actually a day before, and I went to it, and the next day I had heard, and it's, you know, on the news, I had heard and read in the news that that the production of that play has now been suspended. it was funny because,
no.
and I realized that, yeah, I went to that yesterday.
You closed it down.
Yes. That is exactly it. Yes. And yeah, no, we're going to have a fun chat today, and then we'll chat a little bit more off air as well, a little bit.
Sure, sounds good.
Sounds good to you. Whenever you're ready, we will get
good.
started. Pardon me?
I was saying the same thing as you. Whenever you're ready, I'm good to go.
Sounds good. In 1, 2, 3.
Recording in progress.
Welcome to Broadcast Map, the show that covers the world of broadcasting, sports media, and from time to time, the show's favorite sports teams. Here is your host, Ali Musa.
Good afternoon on Thursday, November 14th, 2024. Welcome into Broadcast Map. And it's a pleasure here to be back. And I am joined here to talk some news with by Becky Coles. Now, Becky, I don't know, did you notice me laughing there a little bit there?
Yeah, I did.
Do you? So I want to sort of take you back. So can you sort of guess the reason for that? And you noticed it was so timely.
No, see, now that you're asking me, now you've put me on the spot. I have no idea what's going on.
Okay, so did you hear the intro a couple minutes ago?
I
Just a couple
did. It
seconds.
sounded good.
Yes. Did you? Now the reason I was laughing. Do you know that voice on the intro?
It sounds familiar.
Do you want to take a guess as to who it is?
Oh gosh, no, because that would insult somebody if I guessed the wrong person.
Oh well, that's okay. That is the voice of Rod Mahood.
Okay, I wondered, but then I was like, well, then, like, if it's not Rod might be like, what the heck? That's not me.
That is the voice of Rod Mahood, and we thank him so much for. Thank you so much, Rod, for doing that intro, and that is much appreciated.
5 unread mails.
Yeah, it sounds great.
Thank you so much for Now, I want to sort of talk with you. Now, we will talk about the U.S. election a little bit, but I want to sort of I want to circle down with you back a little bit, because prior to all that, there's been this notion going around of Trudeau, of them wanting to, that there have been several, that his caucus and everybody has been wanting to, and have kept putting letters in to get rid of him. What's your stance on all of that, and what is the reason, in your view, that this has become so much, that there's been so much publicity behind it here now?
Well, there's nothing worse than a bunch of people telling you they don't like you and they want you to go. So first of all, that would be really awkward for anybody. But I think when it comes to Trudeau, I have a few thoughts on this. So first of all, I wonder if he sits there and goes, well, who would take over? Like, if I tell people, well, I'm going to step down, and so then we can call this election and everything's fine. Well, you could have a Kim Campbell situation where the person gets elected and then they were or elected by the party, but not elected by the people, and then they get kicked out anyway. But then you also could have a situation where people go, well, I don't know what's going on with this party, so I'm going to vote somewhere else. So because a lot of people are dyed in the wool, liberal, conservative, but then there's other people that are willing to kind of jump ship. So I think maybe it's a little bit of stubbornness, but then I also look at like a Kathleen Wynne, who at first didn't say she was going to step down. And then eventually, when the writing was on the wall, said, okay, I get it. You don't like me, but please vote for my party. So I see both sides of it, but I think for him, he's saying, well, who would we tell them to vote for instead? Like, if it's not me, who's taking over, and do they have time to do that? And having a leadership campaign is costly. So I kind of wonder if that's where it came from. And they're trying to show stability, I think, is ultimately what they're trying to do. But I also don't blame him for just sticking around, like, and putting his foot down and saying, no, I'm not leaving. So that's kind of my all angles on that. I don't know where you sit on that.
Well, there are a couple of things here. There's no doubt that he recognizes, or that he's darn not in his own head, internally, not publicly, but internally, I'm pretty sure that he's realizing here that he is in trouble, that nobody likes him. Mm-hmm. Right? But at the same point, he's also toying with the idea here that like sort of what you were saying there, that okay, yeah, but who's going to replace me? And what is this going to bring to the party? You're right about that, but I think the bigger picture here is, I think he's only concerned about his leadership here. That because if he leaves, there aren't many options for him, like in terms of what to do next.
Yeah, because a lot of politicians were lawyers first, so they can go back into their own practice and practice law, or someone like a Mulcair who's a professor and a lawyer and a pundit and everything else. And he can go back to teaching drama. I don't know. And I normally wouldn't tease someone for being a teacher and saying, well, that's all they do, because that's not all they do. But in his case, what would he do? Like, would he become a consultant, or I really have no idea. So that's a good question.
But, and I also don't, but see, you kind of have to also look at the options as well, that if, you don't like Trudeau, and you don't like the Liberals of what they've done, I mean, especially, I don't think it's more, I think now it's people don't like Trudeau. And look at what, like, some of the things, he was so big on the whole immigration side. And now all these people have come in, and everything has, now he's okay, now they've started to, sort of cut things back. Yeah, I get it. But, but you kind of have to look at that it's too late to make the changes, and now he's sort of in election mode here.
Yeah, and I think immigrants tended to lean liberal, maybe NDP, but they tended to lean liberal a lot. So I think that could be biting the hand that feeds you. But who knows? But I think it's really hard to make so many concessions for people to come here, and then to just do such a stark difference in your opinion, in what you're allowing to happen. Like, maybe you walk it back on certain restrictions, but other ones you go, okay, well, we can't pull that back now. But now with what's going on in the US, are they prepared for whatever's going to happen? Like, all these people that have decided that they don't want to be in the US right now. So how is he going to handle that? I don't think the government knows. But also, lots of people say they're going to leave the US and they never do.
Yeah, but and that's it too. And I mean, circling kind of back to Kathleen Wynne a bit. Mm-hmm. Kathleen Wynne, obviously, it was so interesting. Like, a few days before the provincial election, there, she had made that announcement that I will not be your premier after the election. I don't know if you remember that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Where, quote, and funny enough, and interestingly, she sort of knew where things were sort of going, and then it became, and then as soon as and she had that, I was surprised to see that. Remember, I don't know, she was almost crying. Like, I don't know if she had that emotional sort of thing to her. I don't know what it was. I don't know what that was about, but ultimately, she knew that the writing was there on the wall too. But then, as soon as the Doug Ford majority was announced, she resigned right away.
Yeah, I wonder for her that emotion comes from, this is what you decide to put your life towards. And she believed in what she was doing. You know, lots of people can go after her for one thing or another, but she truly believed in being premier and believed in the province. And I wonder if part of it was just the exhaustion of the job and the exhaustion of people are mean, like to everyday people, never mind to public figures. And so she was probably hearing a lot of the stuff that was being said. And it's tough to kind of get up there and say, yeah, I get it. Like, you're just not into me anymore. And like try to keep your emotions in checks. But I think that I always like to see that kind of thing because it kind of makes them human.
Oh yeah, I do too. Yeah, no, I mean that's it, yeah, and that's one of the interesting sort of things that kind of circle their way into this whole thing, and that's really where people kind of get their sort of thing from. These people are human too; that they have to make the decisions, like whether you're unpopular, these unpopular decisions, or whatever it happens to be.
That's what I always say about politicians. Like, you know, I might say, well, seems like a stupid idea, but that's easy for me to say sitting on my couch.
Oh, yeah.
When you have
Yep.
thousands or millions of people that you're trying to take care of, then it's a lot harder for everyone to make a policy or a decision that works for everybody. Like, I always bring up the COVID, where people are so divided on if it was handled well or not. And I go, well, I don't know, but I'm glad I didn't have to make those decisions, because trying to decide on the well-being of people in the middle of the pandemic, it just seems very overwhelming. So I don't know, like I feel like they did the right thing with the information they were given at the time, and as things changed, then they changed. So that's really all you can ask for.
Yeah, exactly. No, I'm glad too. I'm glad I wasn't the one making the decisions either.
No.
Yep, exactly. We will take a quick break and come back, and we will talk all about the U.S. election coming up. Don't go away. You are listening to Broadcast Map. Like what you hear on Broadcast Map? Would you like to sponsor the show? Sponsorship opportunities are always available. Please reach out at broadcastmappodcast@gmail.com, and I look forward to hearing from you. What a busy traffic on this Friday evening. I am almost stuck in this traffic for the last 40 minutes. And there is no way, I think, for me to get to the show. The Sienna T Radio Song Bank, which is going to start very shortly. It's one of my favorite shows. And my, what a way to wind down for the weekend. Perfect 2 hours of fun-filled music. And she has so many great features. Sound of Music, Undercover, Foreign Exchange. Name that tune. And the big wheel that she spins. For Who's That? Or Where Are We? We cannot forget about the international stage. I have never come across such a great show in my life. I think I will have to press hard on my accelerator and go as fast as I can to get home in time. Wow! Wow! Look! I made it! I am almost there! Sienna T. Reid, making your day brighter, one song at a time.
Sienna T Radio will never give you up. They will never let you down. Nor will they run around or desert you. So join Nick Astley for The Melting Pot every Saturday on Sienna T Radio. Hang on a minute. He's not Nick Astley. Oh, jings, I've done it wrong. Anyway, just join Nick for The Melting Pot on Sienna T Radio.
Looking for conversations on books and more, as well as tutorials on using your favorite devices and applications? You've come to the right place. Join us weekly on Spicy Techie, where Ali and Sienna provide insightful conversations, as well as useful tips and tricks to help you along on your technological journey. To learn more, tune into the show and like the Spicy Techie Facebook page. Search for Spicy Techie.
Looking for a sports podcast that covers sports weekly as well as gets you set up for the day? Check out Weekly in Sports with me, Scott McGregor. We give some shout-outs of the week to podcasts like this one and those who do them. Discuss the Blue Jays, Bills, Raptors, and more. To learn more, check out the Sports for Beginners Facebook page. Search Sports for Beginners.
And welcome here. We are back here, and thank you so much for sticking around here, for those listening live here. Now, Becky, we teased the U.S. election. Are you surprised at the results? I don't know. I mean, I kind of thought that I was hoping things would be different, but I was not. But the fact that Trump is returning to the White House, it wasn't. I was not surprised.
Right. So I think I was surprised he won it so handily. But I'm not surprised he won. I thought it was going to be a lot closer than that. Just like more of a kind of similar to 4 years ago when it was took like a week or something like that to count everything. But I think he says the problem with Trump, or the good thing about Trump, depending on what side you're on, is he says things people want to hear. The problem is then he doesn't stop talking. So he'll say something where you go, well, I could get on board for that. And then he continues to talk. You're like, well, hold on, I don't agree with that. So I think that's kind of the problem but to his faithful, they hear what they want to hear, and then they tune out the rest, and they just go, yeah, well, that's just Trump being Trump. And you go, well, okay, well, now that's Trump being the president again. So I think it'll be interesting what happens in the next 4 years, but I find it fascinating that Kamala Harris lost the votes that she did. Like, she lost a lot of the people that you would have thought would have been her supporters. So I don't know what the Democrats are going to do. Like, they have 4 years now to find a really strong person, and not that they'll be up against a Trump, but they need someone to really come out and wow everyone like Obama did, and they haven't found anybody like that.
Yeah, I mean Trump, but I mean but honestly, this is the last time that he can actually that he can run.
Yeah, exactly. So,
As much as he thinks he can change that.
yeah. And that's the problem, right? Is that he thinks that he can just kind of come in and change everything around. And I think some people will let him change some things, but when it comes to stuff like that, I think that's going to be a really hard battle for him to change. And I don't know, after 4 years, will he get elected again? If he does change it, I don't know. I think that's an interesting goal for him. But I don't know.
If
I
he
find it
even
very
makes
interesting.
it, though, that's the other side.
Well, that's the thing. Like, why is nobody under 60 running? What's happening? Like where there's,
Yeah.
like I just don't get that. Why? But I guess people at that age then have probably more confidence, whether they should or not, and then they just kind of come out and say things, and they're willing to do it, and they've paid their dues and done everything else. Although, like, I just don't know who would sign up for that. Like, I'm glad someone signs up for it, but it goes back to the whole, like, I wouldn't want to be that person making those decisions, especially of the United States. So I don't know. Like, I don't know how you change the face of politics either.
No, but honestly, I feel that there's a lot of concern in Canada as well. Right now, you have a Trudeau, Liberals. Now, it's going to be a hard sort of battle now that they said that they're going to work together, but he said that they're going to work but see, there are a lot of things that they can't find common ground on. Mm-hmm. Now, there is a part here that scares me, which we've had conversations about offline.
Mm-hmm.
Which is
a poly-of majority.
Yes.
Well, I'll say it. I don't care.
No, go ahead. Right? I mean, see.
Just because he's so conservative, like it's almost like around the 360-degree conservative, right? And I think that's what scares me. And I, as much as I think the Liberals like to pump a bunch of money into things that maybe is too much, it also scares me to see things restricted the other way, and to see programs cut and funding not given to things. And that's just money wise, never mind socially conservative. I don't know. And it would be really interesting if you have a Polyev majority friends with Trump. Like
yeah. that's the problem.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
do you think he'll do a majority though, or do you think it'll just be a minority?
You know what? If you want to look at polling numbers aside, current numbers.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I personally feel it'd be that it'll end up being a minority.
Mm-hmm.
Because while they're leading in the polls, people can't like Polyev can't be trusted as a leader.
Right.
And that's what we're seeing, and we're seeing conversations about that as well. And actually, shout out and credit to Bill Kelly, actually, who talked about that on his podcast a little while ago now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure if you saw it.
No, I missed that one, but I did see people talking about it. So, yeah, I don't know. A minority, I think, is more palatable. But it goes back to just like how annoyed with Trudeau is everybody, and do they go, well, I'm just gonna vote conservative just to get rid of him, right? Because there is a bit of that. But I don't know. Like you look in the States and you think, well, anything's possible.
Yep. But look at history. Like, see, the thing is that they always say that history repeats itself, but not always. Not always, because if you're looking at, we never could have expected it. Mm-hmm. That a Trump, we never could have expected that this is how society has gone. Now look at all Like, look at all those criminal charges and everything against Trump. Look at the problem. Look at what could happen now. Everything could be reversed now. Like, see, this is the dangerous thing here. Because they're letting bad things. Like, how is all this even being accepted?
Yeah, I don't know. But like that's where you would have thought he wouldn't have gotten reelected in the first place.
Exactly.
And that's why I say like anything can happen. And I think when you say, history repeats itself, but not really, I think you're right. But I think there's things where you're like, oh, this feels like I've seen this before. I've experienced something similar, but it's just similar enough that it gives you like that gut reaction. But it's different enough that you don't catch it right away.
Yeah, no, I mean, like the problems aside here, where when you look at like the bigger picture is like what are they like what is, for example, like, see, and like because people are saying that about Polyev because of the fact that he has a hidden agenda. People are feeling that he has a hidden agenda.
Mm-hmm.
And to be honest, I feel that he does.
Yeah, I think there's something going on there. I don't know what it is, but there's something happening, and I guess we'll figure it out when he gets in there and go, oh, that's what you were going for. Okay, now we understand. Kind of like Trump, right?
Yep.
Trump felt like that uncle that says the wrong thing at Christmas at first, and then he became like more extreme than that, right?
Hey, but it gives us things to talk about.
Exactly. And that's what that's how I always look at it, is like, well, it would have been really boring if it was Kamala Harris. So at least now we have something to talk about for 4 years.
Oh, yeah. But what about, like, now kind of circling in Ontario, what about, like, Doug Ford, Premier Ford? Like, what do you think his future is? I mean, do you feel that he, like, does he want to sort of continue as Premier?
It sure feels that way.
Yeah.
I think from my interactions with him when I used to work on his show, I think he pretends to not like being in power, but he does like it. He likes being a leader. He likes being in charge and being that like household name. And I think he really does care about the province. He doesn't always show it in the way that we want to be shown, but I think he does care about that and wants everyone to be successful. And people can argue, well, he just wants his friends to be successful. Okay, that's fine. But I think in like larger picture, he does actually care about the province. And I think we're for sure headed for an election.
Oh, yeah. Because he wants to, while his polling numbers are high, he wants to call an early election.
Sure. And send everybody a check. That's fine.
Yeah, that's what he wants. Yeah. But see, the thing is, though, there are a lot of things that I feel that there are a lot of things that he's not, that him and the Conservatives are not concentrating on, that really should be a priority, that they should be.
What do you think is number one? I think housing, but
yeah, housing too. Housing is number one, and also there's been all this talk about increasing the ODSP allowance every month.
Yeah.
Right? And I mean that, I don't even think he understands and realizes that this is an actual thing, that this is an actual problem.
Well, I also believe in basic income, like a guaranteed minimum income for people. So I'm on board with raising ODSP. I think I have a lot of opinions about social assistance. So I think when you look at Ontario Works, I think they make it too easy to get on it and too hard or too easy to stay on it. And they make it too hard for people to get off of it. They figure out how to make it work. They've figured out the numbers and everything else, and they figure out where the food banks are and how to get money from other sources, and that's it. But I think for people on ODSP, like people with ODSP, like you have an actual reason that you've been on there, and you can. I've heard people say, "Yeah, well, I know someone that's on there that shouldn't be," and it's like, okay, well, that's fine. They've been approved, and that's it. But I think for people like that, it's like, well, we figured out that you can't make an income traditionally. So why would we make you live in poverty? Why wouldn't we give you the right amount of money that you need to thrive? Just because you can't work shouldn't mean that you don't do anything and you can't have a phone or a computer or TV. Like I just think everyone has that basic right to feel like they can go buy the food they want and everything else. And I know some people would say that technology is a luxury. It's like, well, it is, but at the same time, like you want to feel like everyone else. You want to feel like you're not.
I don't think it's a luxury. It shouldn't have to be.
No, but I understand how someone would argue with me, like, well, I shouldn't have to pay my tax dollars towards that. And I'm like, well, no, but they shouldn't have to live differently than the rest of us. So let's give them a basic income.
Yeah, but I mean, also, like, see, that's the thing. Like, look at the cost of it. Like, see, look at the cost of everything, right? Look at the cost of everything being so high. You factor your rent in, you factor, right? You factor, then you factor the internet in, and your phone. You factor all that in, and some like see, even for somebody to even have like any kind of part-time like job like that, where like a remote job, it requires the internet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So. So how are how are opportunities? And I had this chat with Craig Needles about that. So if you haven't checked that out, feel free to go back and listen to that too. Where you can't, like it's just one of those situations where you can't just go on, you have to sort of have a balance there. Where one thing goes, okay, you have to there like ODSP, there has to be some kind of bridge. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Whereas, like, yeah, Ontario works. But I don't even know how Ontario works. Basically, works. Feel free to describe that if you want.
From the last time I knew people on it that I talked to them about it,
Yeah.
basically you just have to say you're looking for work. But the thing is, they help you with your prescriptions. They help you with transit. And then if you make any kind of money, well, then they're clawing back on what you're making. It's like, well, then I'm not getting ahead. I'm just like, basically trading one for the other. But then a lot of people, because they don't qualify for ODSP, but they can still get medications paid for, then they're going, well, if I go off of this, then I don't have a plan. I don't have benefits, because no one wants to give you full-time work with benefits anymore. Like even if you go to Tim Hortons, it's a lot of, or any other fast food, it's the benefits are there, but you really have to, it's not like it's immediate. And so I think it just, they're so overrun with people in the system too, that they just kind of go, yeah, you're fine. And that's it. And then they move on instead of just really looking at, how do we make this work? And that's why I think a guaranteed basic income makes more sense, because then it's okay, well, you do whatever you got to do to get to that amount, and if you don't, then we'll top it up. That's fine. Then we're all in the like somewhat the same playing field.
Yeah, and I mean, certainly like one of the things but see, I mean, there is also too a piece where or even, but isn't it sort of like a similar sort of thing when it comes to, like shouldn't there be like a guaranteed basic income for like some kind of a program? Do you think there should be some kind of something for seniors? Do you think?
Yeah, I do. Because they need things are just as costly for them as it is for anyone else, and they have prescriptions and everything else, and they can't drive anymore. Like maybe they used to be able to, now they can't, so they have to hire a cab if they don't have anyone to take them somewhere. And so they kind of top it up for people. Like if you're really, really low income, you'll get a little bit extra, but it's still not much, and so for people that didn't have a pension, or they lost their pension, or I saw a special recently. It was a local seniors TV show, and they were talking about how single seniors are taxed the same as a senior couple.
Yeah.
And so you go, well, that makes no sense, because you're living on your own. So why should you be taxed the same way, right? So, and then their income splitting if there's two of them. And so then that doesn't make sense to me either, right? Like these are people that have contributed their whole lives to this country. And now we're just kind of saying, oh, well, that's fine. Like, you're just going to have to learn how to budget again. And not everyone has a retirement plan, and not everyone has support from other people. So
Yeah.
I think, why aren't we helping everybody out?
Well, yeah, and and I agree with that. You see, but I mean, it's the same thing when it comes to like it's the same thing when it comes to a lot of things. Like there are things people can do, but then like there are things people say that you should do. But the thing is that things can happen so fast, depending on what this is, and like you can't plan. Like you can plan, but you can't sort of go overboard with how things should be. Do you know what I mean?
As far as social assistance goes, or just in general?
No, in general, right?
Yeah,
there's only so much you can prepare for.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of like, well, save for a rainy day and save for this and save for that, and you're like, well, if the rainy days keep coming, the money is going to be gone, or the situation is going to be gone, and not everyone can stay in their own home. Not everyone can live with somebody else. Not everybody wants to go to long-term care. Like, I think of people in my life where, like when you take my dad's license away, that's it. Like he's finished. He identifies with his license because of what he used to do for a living, both of his jobs, but also just the independence it gives him. And so he will decline as soon as you take his license away. And I'm not saying let him keep it. Like, when he gets to that point, if they decide to take it away, then they need to take it away. But, you might be planning thinking, well, I think I might be able to drive till I'm 80. And then at 75, they say, no, sir, you can't have your license anymore. It's like, well, now what are you supposed to do? You didn't plan for that. You didn't plan for that to change, or all of a sudden you need cataract surgery, but you don't go get it. And so you're blind, and now all of a sudden you can't see it. So that type of thing, right? Where although cataract surgery is covered, but if someone chooses not to do it, or there's a complication, which is rare, but like that's something you can't plan for because you don't know. No one told you were going to go blind at 70 or 10 or whatever age you go blind, or whatever the other limitations are, right?
See, and that's the thing, like, then I think when it comes to it, like, because things change so fast, I think they just can't, I think it's just one of those things where it's just, I don't know, right? It's one of those things where, I think it's just, like, it's one of those things where things, like, you always have to learn at every step. That's my biggest sort of thing, that, you're going to learn everything you can.
Mm-hmm. And you have to adapt.
You do, yep.
Some adapting is easier than others.
No, but you have to adapt to it, right?
Yeah.
You have to adapt to what it is, and I think, too, and broadcasting and media certainly has taught that.
Mm-hmm.
Or teaches that to those of us that are still involved to those of us that are involved in it.
Yeah, you have to keep learning. And that's my advice whenever people say, what would your advice be to people going through school, is just learn whatever you can and try not to say no. Like there's certain things maybe you don't want to do and you're not a good fit. Like I would never want to sell radio or media. So I always said no to those opportunities. But otherwise, if there's an opportunity that you feel like, well, maybe I could do it, or I'll at least give it a shot so that you have that knowledge. And it teaches you not just about the literal skill of whatever it is, but it teaches you about being flexible and learning and seeing what the possibilities are. And just even, like sometimes things come along that you're like, I didn't think I'd enjoy it that much. Like I used to not mind editing music or editing pieces together. And then I got the opportunity, if I had wanted more hours, they said, we need someone to be a board op. And I thought, well, yeah, that's cool. Like, I don't mind doing it. I don't think I want to do it forever, but that's fine. But because of that, like doing stuff on CKOC, then all of a sudden I was doing board opping all over the place, like not just basic, but like actually running a full show. And there's so many opportunities that I would have missed out on. And I actually enjoyed doing it. So for me, it was a great opportunity that I'm glad I didn't pass up on. And again, like if you hate doing that, or you just don't have the skill, or especially board opping, if you can't focus, then then maybe don't do it. But otherwise, just try and take those opportunities, because you don't know where they're going to lead.
Yes, no, that's exactly the thing, right? Like, I mean, in a lot of but I mean, certainly the same amount of opportunities, though. Like, I don't want to say the same about the opportunities, just aren't there anymore.
And that's the sad thing. So everyone's voice tracking, and now you hear talks of AI doing hosting and everything. And I think that's sad
Yeah.
because nobody gets those part-time jobs anymore. Nobody gets to come in at midnight and run the board or do other things. Like there's a few stations where it still happens, but in general it isn't. They figured out how to automate it. And from a labor perspective, like cost cutting, I understand, but then you also then have nobody, there's no farm team anymore. There's nobody that kind of gets to make their mistakes in a small market because all the big market people are in there and you don't get those. So I feel really lucky because I was kind of at the tail end of that where the part-timers still got to fill in and do all those things.
Yeah, like remember the weekend? Remember those like those weekend like see? Remember those weekend morning shifts?
Mm-hmm.
Like
Yeah,
you know, like
either as a host or I was filling in as a board op, or even like some of my greatest, like fondest memories of working at CKOC and Cham was when we were airing like paid programming on Sundays, and so I would go in and it like was not a hard job, but I loved it because I got to talk to other people in the radio station and who was coming and going, and um, so I always think that I'm just grateful that I had that opportunity to go in and do that, and trying to time things out and playing music to time things out. So I don't know, like for me, like that was part of the learning and part of the experience.
yeah, and you know what? This is kind of an interesting sort of thing. I want to sort of like remember the talk. Remember the talk 820 days.
Mm-hmm.
And you were there
Yep.
when it flipped back to country. Even remember they made all that. They let a lot of people go when they made the flip again.
I was on the air when they let everybody go, and it was one of those awful moments where they had called me into the office the day before
Yeah.
and had kind of said, we need you to sign something. And I thought, oh, well, this is it for me. Like, I just, because I've been in those meetings before. So I assumed
Yeah.
my time was up. And then I read it and it was like, no, you're staying. But tomorrow we're letting everybody else go. And like you and Mike Neighbors are the only people staying. And it was really tough because you work with these people and your colleagues or friends, whatever level. But you can't say anything. Like your job depends on not saying something. And that's like, you can't do anything about that. And I remember coming in and I was filling in for, it might have been Mike that week, and they had said, oh, are you going to that meeting? And I said, no, I have to be on the air. And so that was kind of how I reacted to it, but I felt really bad because I knew what meeting they were talking about. And so
Who
then
was
they
that,
let
sorry?
everybody go. Oh, everybody at Talk 820. Just me and Mike Neighbors were the only people, but people came into me up to me before the meeting and said, oh, are you going to that meeting? And I said, no, I have to be on the air, so I'll find out after, knowing full well that the meeting, I wasn't invited to the meeting because I wasn't being let go. So it's a terrible feeling, and you have this guilt of, especially when you know what's going on and you see people going to collect their purses and their bags so that they can leave. And I felt really bad about that.
Yeah, like there were a lot of people, the late Mike Bullard was there.
Yeah, that's right.
He recently passed too.
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
And of course, like he had his, like certainly some things, and but right, like he certainly had his sort of things, you know what I mean? But there was Dave, like there were a bunch of, like Dave Shuttleworth was there, Jason Farr.
Mm-hmm. Jody Gaskell, Mike Laidman, a bunch of people just gone, right? And,
yeah. And go ahead.
It's tough.
And you know what the thing was too, but what they had, the station had like major rights, like they had like the Jays rights. They had, I don't know, but it seemed that when they made this,
we did Sunday Night Football too.
Yeah. But see, the thing, like when what I had noticed though as a listener, that when they made that flip back,
mm-hmm.
they were still airing the odd Jays game until the end of the season, but they weren't airing as many anymore.
Yeah, and I don't remember. It's been so long now. I don't remember how that all kind of shook out, but I do remember it kind of being like, well, we got to somewhat like complete our contract, I think was basically how it happened. But I don't know. It's too bad they couldn't have made it work where they kept the sports, but still had country music. If they decided to not do talk because it's such an expensive format to run, but it's too bad they couldn't have kept the country and the sports at the same time.
Yeah, and of course, and remember they had major shows like Leo Laporte.
Mm-hmm.
Remember
Yeah,
Leo,
that's
and he's still around doing his thing.
I totally forgot about that name. That's funny.
You remember Leo Laporte? He's still around, the tech
Yeah.
guy.
Yeah. Like you hear names, you're, oh, right. Like if someone had asked me off the cuff, I wouldn't remember his name, but now I will.
Yeah, I don't know what else they had. They had a very, honestly, they had a very interesting thing going. I thought, I used to listen to them quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it was interesting. Who my favorite was at the time was I really liked Dave Shuttleworth.
Yeah, he's fun. And now he's in an Iron Maiden tribute band.
Yeah, that's it. Yep. Oh, I don't even think he'd want to talk media. No.
Oh, I think he would. I just realized I have to get you his email address because I think he would want to talk about it. So
yeah. Well, I mean, he knows just as well as we do what's going on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right? I don't know. Right. So, well, Becky, you know what? We got. You know what? There's always so much to talk about. We got to do something if we can before the holidays and schedule one after.
Okay. And well, who knows? Maybe someone will have called an election by then, and we can see if we got our checks from Uncle Doug or not.
Oh yeah, we can talk about that too. They can check you out at BeckyColes.com.
Yep. Thanks, Allie.
No problem. And you can find me all over the place too. And I'm coming back December 2nd, and when I will be we will have Valerie Geller on to talk about beyond her book. We're going to talk about her book, Beyond Powerful Radio. I'm not sure if you've had a chance to read that.
No, not yet, but Valerie's great, so that's going to be a really good interview.
Absolutely, and we will be checking that out.
Thank you so much for listening to Broadcast Map. To learn more about the show, please visit alleytechgroup.wordpress.com/broadcastmap. Like the Broadcast Map Facebook page by searching Broadcast Map. Stay tuned. There's always more excellent conversation on the way.
You will be notified when the cloud recording is ready.
Stopped.